It is time for our post-worlds balance in Duel Links featuring Rush Duel, Speed Duel, skills for both as well, and also a new campaign coming that we definitely didn't predict. This was pretty obvious, right? We're getting a Buster's Blader in Overrush Rare, which wasn't in the OCG, which is pretty cool, a brand new skill, Dark Paladin All-Type card for Speed Duel, and we're getting an SR Dream ticket for Rush Duel, Choice tickets for Rush Duel, Unlock tickets, Skill tickets, and it does also kind of hint here as to a second SR Dream ticket being for Speed Duel, because it mentions EX Structure decks, we don't have Rush Duel yet. So I'd assume we're getting one for Speed Duel, one for Rush Duel, and then when we get the World's Finals campaign, that's when we get the UR Dream tickets, and then it all kind of lines up, right? But also, we know the skill doesn't work unless you've got like 5 or 6 cards to meet the requirements, so we know we're getting more cards to work with the skill on the 27th, which I believe is the same day as, no it's not, so it's probably the day the box drops for Asana, so that all kind of makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the brand new ban list. Now, you can see here, skill changes apply in PvP only from July 4th, otherwise they go into effect in PvE on the 22nd to 25th, being the first time they've done this where they've made it so that a core update isn't kind of limiting when they bring skill changes. People have been asked this for years now, and finally, it's happening, which to me means that this is going to be a bit of a banger, and things they want hit as soon as possible. So let's go and find out what's happening. Contract Fabled. So this is now getting a limit on the restriction to now be able to access the opponent's graveyard, meaning I think now you can play the Andraith card, the new synchro. Before the skill didn't work with it. Now I believe the skill did. I'm just going to quickly check real quick. Yes, it does. Okay, that's really, really good. Then Tachyon Dragon Domination is getting a lot of changes. Okay, so second effect once per duel and third effect once per turn. That's fine. You've now got back the special summon from hand. Okay, that's fair. And also, you've now got the Tachyon Transmigration Dragon Magic Search from your deck without returning a card. So it's gotten better. It's gotten better. But of course, with the limits and of course the skill being the way it is, it's still nowhere near as good as it was. But seeing the skill be buffed is kind of like setting off red flags, right? Because it was so meta prevalent. But I guess now we've moved on and we've power crept it somehow. And so this might be okay. This might be okay. Then we've got Synchro Storm Rays, Xyz Light Rays, Link Earth Rays, and Link Dark Rays, all getting a similar buff to now affect any monster rather than just a Link monster, which is, you know, that's okay. They won't see play. Then we've got Tuning in the Sky, and oh boy, is that a lot of changes. Okay, so gonna see a lot of red here. So what have we got? So first of all, you've got a Highlander lock on the X-Check. Not sure how important that is at the moment, but maybe with some card hits on the ban list, that'll be more important. You now cannot normal summon monsters, meaning you've now got rid of the Man Throw Tro FTK, which is good. You now send one agent from your deck to the graveyard instead of 2, and you don't get the add of the field spell from outside your deck, meaning you've now got to play a brick, I guess, in your deck. Only get to shuffle Hyperion to get the whole switcheroo, but now for a Venus rather than any agent, so a bit more restrictive, but that's the one that generates tokens, I believe, so it's kind of your intended main combo piece, that's fine. And now also, you're making one monster tuner rather than 2, also you're losing that shuffle back into the deck, so overall, a bit of a butchering for the skill, but I still think the skill is good, but like this is what it should have been when it came out, right? It shouldn't have been as broken as it was, so we'll see what else is kind of in store. Then we've got Rush Duel skills. Okay, so the original Rebel skill is being buffed to... Okay, so this was when you summoned your Heavy Metal, you of course popped a card in your opponent's field, gain attack points. You'll now have a higher restriction for locking out, so I believe it's 2500 by default, meaning you've now got a 2000 pop, so 700 Magician is going to be enough to get the attack off, which are, okay, sure, of course, it's still hit from the original version, it's not as broken, so I think this is plenty fine. Then we've got Blast Inferno, going to be given a twice per duel. That fixes quite a bit, because I quite liked this deck when I played it, but the biggest thing was that once per duel restriction on the recursion of your Dragon's Inferno, meaning you kind of had to play 2 in your deck rather than just 1, and so now you can kind of bump that down to 1, play a better generic back row or a better boss monster. Okay, that's a very, very good change. Then Disco Fever is going to give us a restriction on non-water attributes rather than lights. Meaning, we're finally, after what, 6 months, right, getting more Mimi support in the next box, or in a box further on. Because it's coming to effect on July 4th, the new box will be coming out, around the 27th, 28th-ish, and so will they give us them in advance? Maybe that's why they're saying this so early, making the skills go live early, who knows. Then we've got Reboot, oh, the final skill, and it's now once per duel rather than unlimited. Okay, so this was so cheesy in the KC card because it turned all ninjas into a bit of a stall deck, right? You played so much back row, you only focused on the new ultra rare card, and you do burn damage, bring a card back, sacked it off, build 1,000, and just did that every single turn until the 6k was down to 0. And so this, bringing it more in line with just being a nice aggro deck with a bit of burn damage, is going to be much appreciated. So overall, some very, very good skill changes, right? I think overall, all of them are good. I would have maybe liked to have seen the Borrow skill hit, because I feel like now that's, at least like looking at just this, it's now Borrow and Blue Eyes are still going to be in that top slot. So we'll see what happens with the cards, maybe things will change, but first of all, is bans for Speed Duel being Sam, Sarah, Lotus, Bad Rush, Smochi, and Heatwave. Okay, so this one being a level up card, again, is like the last list. There was no replacement for this. Hopefully, we can finally get non-banners in PvE and Speed Duel. That'd be really good. These are all FTK cards, right? This, of course, is a Blue Eyes card at the moment that kind of locks your opponent down, so that's perfectly fine to be hit, get it out of the game, that's cool. This one's funny because the day this card came out in Duel Links was the day, I believe, in a TCG, they banned it. Or maybe it was the day they unbanned it, I can't remember exactly, but it was definitely something happened on this day. This was always going to be a problem, right? Just eventually, no matter how long it took, it's been in the game for what, 5-6 years now, so finally, it's happened. Then we've got Limit 1s. Okay, that's funny. That's actually funny, right? Ophion and Launch going to 1. So this was originally our 1. They made Unlimited because they thought it wasn't seen play, it's not that great, and then of course Phantom Knights abused it, and yeah. So if they're hitting PKs that aren't like tier 1 in Duel Links now, then surely there's hits for Blue Eyes and for Rocket and for Agents in this, even more than the skill. But that is very, very funny. Ancient Fairy Dragon. Okay, so this, of course, and Herald as well. So 2 hits for the Agent deck. This one being, I think, the more impactful, just because you are searching out the field spell lock with the Summon Breaker, I believe it is. And this one is cool because it's our first box UR card being hit and more limit 3. Now, is it a precedent breaking thing? Sure. Is it that meaningful now? This card is free, right? It's in box chips. It's a free card technically. They're not making that much money on this card anymore, and so this doesn't really change things in regards to the whole philosophy of Duel Links, I think. I think this is an outlier rather than a thing going forward. Then we've got Infernoble Captain Knight Roland, so again, a hit to Agents. So now we've got the skill, plus these 3 on the screen now, big limit 1. This one, I don't really like, right, because Infernobles by themselves are not really doing that much, and so the Duel Links style ban list does really hit decks that these cards are intended for, more so than the ones they're being abused in, I think. So like I don't think this is a great hit, but if any card comes off the list soon, it's going to be this one, right? Like just looking at the cards here, it'll be this one, given that there's going to be more support coming for Infernobles down the line. Then we've got Sky Scourge Invincibles. This is your negate for spell cards or trap cards, obviously being used with spell cards. This can be banned, honestly. Again, it's a Floodgate-esque card, so I'd be fine with it being banned anyway. Overflow coming back is... Okay, and there's probably the big one, is Sunbreaker going to 1. Can still be used, right? Would prefer, of course, it being banned entirely, but I think some Blue Eyes decks are playing this at 1 anyway, so this won't be that impactful, but also, you can't search this now terraforming, because it's in 1 as well, so that does actually kind of line up, so it's now not searchable, but cards can search it. Very, very cool. But Overflow is interesting because, of course, it's saying now you can play with the fusion spell, which is neat, but it being limit 1 means you can't play it with Pleiades, one of the best rank 5 toolbox cards Cyber Dragon had. So either give them more support or hopefully free play these. That'll be cool. And Cup of Ace as well, going to 1. Please give us a non-balance option in Speed Duel in PvE, because like that'll fix this, right? Because this of course has been an FTK card, a cheese combo card for the longest time, but being able to use this card as a farm card in Speed Duel in PvE would be neat, right? It would be neat. Then Limit 2s, we've got Memory for World Legacy, and that is it. I say this every time, World Legacy Mech Knights, a deck I don't really like, but cool with they're being buffed, I guess. They're not doing anything right now, so, from a meta standpoint, it's fine. Personally, not a big fan. Then, Limit 3s, we've got Into the Void. Okay, so Sky Strikers, and of course, any FTK deck can abuse this. And also, it is a free card right now, so it's not that bad. Rapid Trigger is interesting because at the moment, we've not seen any hits to rockets, right, aside from this. Now, this does kind of clash with the Divine, so you now can't play 3 and 1 of this. Also, you might be playing the Silver Rocket, so this now, if you're playing that as well, have to choose one of this, one of that, one of Divine, or cutting the rocket entirely. Don't think it's the biggest nerf to the deck. It feels like a really small tap on the wrist, honestly, especially compared to Agents. Then we've got Cast in the Sky, again, not necessarily for Agents, but more so for those generic FTK decks going around, of which RY Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably devastated this ban list, right, because this is kind of his entire gimmick. It's now gone out the window. And no longer on the list, hopefully some bangers, we've got BLS Envoy at the beginning. Okay, so BLS has not really seen play in a couple of months, right? It was really, really good back when it first came out, but now this is fine to be unlimited. This is perfectly fine. World Crown was a card limit 3'd on release, so hasn't really seen play, so maybe now it's got a shot, who knows. Skill Prisoner, I can't remember why this was hit, but it is a double negate, one from instant activation, one from the graveyard, so this is fine for right now. It's kind of slow, so that's okay. Again, like the World Crown, Citadel was limit 3 on release, now going to be unlimited. You now have backer access, right, in Earth Machine. Could be kind of scary, but we've seen KONAMI are more than willing to flip-flop on cards like Ophion, so this is fine to come back now. Vessel, going from, I believe, 1 or 2 to 3, is fine. 10 years have fallen off a cliff in terms of meta relevance. On ladder, they're very easy to beat, and so this, just giving them more support, is plenty fine. And that is it for Speed Duel. So, overall, a bit surprised that Rockets only got the tiny slap on the wrist, right? Agents, of course, getting technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards on the list, plus skill is massive. But now, on to Rush Duel and seeing, are they going to fix the format? Let's find out. So limit 2s, so no limit 1s, no bans, which I guess is fine, right, for the small card pool. We've got negate attack, okay. And Hydron, right, so this is a legend limit 2. They really don't want this card being played in all the good decks, right, do they? So, depending on the cards that get hit on limit 2, you now kind of insta-lose, I guess, against maximum decks, right? Or you've got a much higher chance of losing versus them, because now you've got to play your widespread, which they're unaffected by. So, unless we get a new Legend Trap to replace this, then that's going to be a very big downside, but Hydron going to 2 is fine. At the moment, some people are playing it at 2. It's a bit of a toss-up, right, with the ratios, right? Do you play 3 of your Drago, 3 of this, 1 of your Manny, or do you play 2 and 3, or 2-2-3, or 3-2-2? Who knows, right? But this is a... I can understand this change. Not a big fan as a Cyberburst enjoyer, but it does make sense. Then we've got the Aim Eagle as well, so limiting the sales of the structure deck is interesting. But again, you now can't play your negate attack. You're now going back to your widespread, meaning that there's no real last line defense against maximums in those decks I can think of off the top of my head, right? So that is, of course, you have got the buffered slime, but that's level it's lower, so again, that's irrelevant. And we know we're getting a new maximum skill for Yuga, we're getting a new maximum for him, we're getting Asana's maximum as well. So this does seem like a bit of a balancing down of the format, because I don't think Asana's maximum is all that good. So it might be a way to kind of push her cards and just bring the power level down a little bit for the moment. So I think I'm fine with that. Then we've got Champion Check. Okay, so this was a limit 1 card, now limit 2. It's by itself, but of course, negate attack. And so this just feels really bad, right? They really don't know what to do with psychics. On any other day, this would have been good, but on the same day, you're hitting the best trap card in the format from being played in the deck, where this card is not going to be all that amazing, right? It is some information knowledge, right? It is popping a card, gain life points, but like, I just don't think this card deserves to be limit 2. You know, I really don't think it does. Sure, limit 3s, we've got Ghost Cyclone. That's really big, because limit 3 in the moment, you've got Harp Ladies, you've got Dragius, you've got Rebels, of course, you've got your Magnum Overlord. This card was seeing play in almost every deck, right? Because going second, it is like Essel. It's a massive value generation. Getting +1 card is insane. Just giving those decks that do rely on a big boss monster less access to this, I think, is a good thing. Makes them play their built-in back removal more. I think that's a solid change. Then we've got extra spice as well. So, of course, they're saying here that they know it was a stall deck, right? They were saying limit 3 trap cast being used to protect it. Now, you can't really do that, right? So what were they playing? They were playing things like King's Majesty and Call of the Earthbound. And now, given they were playing, what, 2 of this, I think, at minimum, sometimes 3, you now can play only 1 trap card if you want to. But also, skill's been hit, so now it's a once per duel thing, so it's a bit less likely to pull off in the same manner. I like these hits more than these ones, personally. I think these are better. Then, we've got Semirilla going to be unlimited. That's fine, this card has done nothing because it was limit 3, so that is perfectly fine by me. Overall, a decent list of Rush Duel, right? So we'll have to see what's happening with the box coming. Potentially a Strike Deck 2 as well, we don't know. I mean, it does kind of, you know, of course that campaign does hint as to us getting more support for Buster Blader, at least that skilled version of the deck. But yeah, a very big ban list, and we know we're getting more speed cards, more rush cards, and so hopefully a meta shift both formats will be great going into the World Championships, and we're going to a July, which potentially could mean a no box month for both formats. Hopefully not, because, you know, previous years has been, you know, either a structure deck or a selection box and kind of skipping here and there. But now we've got 2 formats. Hopefully that's not going to be happening. We'll find out. We have come updates as a bit of a hint. But yeah, overall, a very good ban list. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you on the next one's video. See you then.